Well, as I say, I was just over 18 years old in 1944, and then I find myself in the army, and then by the end of June 1944, I'm going to France, and I land, are you all right, on Juno Beach, where the Canadians landed, and then we were shifted from there over to the southeast of Caen, and I did my action down that side next to the Canadians. Well, actually, I didn't know, but I was under the command of the Canadians, First Corps. So while I was in Normandy, I was not under any British. I was the Canadians. But while we go over that side, we take up positions in this big chateau, in the grounds of the chateau. And of course, July, that was hot. We had some dead sheep over there, we had dead cows over there, we had the ditch that we had to use. Then of the night you had the mosquitoes. So that was a life in July. And the front line came to standstill. I think that was why the British and the Canadians contained the Panzers, 21st Panzer Division, while the Americans come round from Cherbourg and round that way. So all we had to do was these patrols, or standing patrols, where you go out into no man's land. And but a lot of those, I mean, one or two I can't repeat, but you find yourself out on these patrols, and there was one patrol I know, we had to go out all night, and you lay in a bomb crater where the bombs missed Caen and it there. And of course, you're looking out for the enemy all night. Don't shut your eyes, you're looking and looking. And then the morning came and it was just light, just greyish light. I was looking, as I said, I was looking for Germans all night. And my sergeant had got his head down there doing something. And I looked out there and I said to my sergeant, I said, excuse me, there's bloody Jerry's coming at us. That's what we call the Germans. I said, there's hundreds of them. He had a look. He said, my name's Charlie. He said, get down there, shut your eyes for 2 minutes and then get up. So I did that and he said, right, now have a look. I couldn't see one German. All I could see was these young trees had broken down through the bombing. And of course they were greyish, the light was greyish, and the German uniforms greyish. Now that is what I saw that night. And that's how it gets you sometimes. Of course, anyway, that was okay. And then as time went on, it was different patrols. We had another one night. I had to go out, just 3 of us, 1 officer and 2 of us. And that's weird, that is, going out just 3 of you out into no man's land. We went out there about 10 o'clock in the evening, and we had to go down here, cross fields, this, that and the other, and we didn't allow back not until 4 o'clock in the morning. You had to go out there to see if that position was being held by the Germans of the night. But as luck would have it, we was okay, so we got back all right. And then around about the 7th of August, 44, I think the front line started to move. So we find ourselves going down towards these different villages in France, and you have your battles and so forth. But I come to a place called Vimont. I shall never forget this one. And we had to go up across the fields. And of course those days you had hedgerows all the way around the fields. Instead of going down the road, because the Germans would mortar the roads, so we're going across, and we had to follow this hedgerow round as we advanced. Well, there was 6 of my mates in front of me, so we was going up, and then we come to this bend. That 6 went round the bend, and we just come up to it, and then Spandau fired, and those 6 fell down in front of me. And of course, we was young and we was scared, wasn't we? But we just fired away up and down that hedgerow, and those who stayed to fight, that was their last day. And the others who wanted to run, they copped it and all. So that's how it ended up with that battle. But we was heading down further to have to take another place called Mesidon. That had to be captured because it was in the way of the Second Army advance. And we carried on down there, and then our A and B companies had to go into the town with the 15th Scottish Regiment. Myself and some more was outside the town advancing, and that started on the morning. Well, it was 8 o'clock in the evening when we went in, and the battle had been going all day, and we come to them, we had to stop, and that's where we stayed for the night. And the ground went down to a road and then went way up. That was our objective. There was young bush like trees up the hill, and up the top was the Germans, so they could see everything that was going on. Well, it came dark, so we had to stay still where we were and not move. No grub, that's food, nothing, no drink. Well, there we are, taking up this position, and then it came light somewhere about 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought, well, we'll have a look. And of course, then I found my best mate dead. And while I was doing that, all of a sudden, the Germans let it go. Shells came over, mortars came over, and these moaning minis, they are things that they fire 6 at a time, and they drop all round you. So we don't know how we got out of that. And another funny thing is, when that was over, although we couldn't get out, not until our British people laid a smoke screen for me to back. And you won't understand what I'm going to say now, but what happened is the truth. When we did get back further, my mind is blank, even to this day, because I don't remember what happened after that until I found myself in another position. You understand me? My mind went blank. So whatever happened in between that little while, because the next thing I know we was picking up some Germans here and Germans there. But we took up this new position, and it came the 17th of September. As you know, the airborne and the Americans dropped to get Harnham. And now I'm in what they call the British 50th Division of the Northumbrian, and that's had to go up to help the boys up at Arnhem. Anyway, we see the airborne dropping, and we had to move off, and our powers to be said you'll be up there in 48 hours. That's 60 miles away. Well, we set off at 2:30 in the afternoon when they was dropping on Arnhem. We moved for about an hour. We was halted. What are we halted for? Well, there's the Germans are coming from the west side of Holland across our front, and we haven't got to get mixed up with them. So there we were, stuck for the night. Anyway, next morning we did move again, and we got to Eindhoven, and we're about 36 hours late now. And those boys have been dropped. We eventually move up, and then we eventually get up to Nijmegen, to take over from the 82nd Airborne of the Americans. And while we were up there, there was another place we had to capture, which was called Bemmel. That's just the other side of Nijmegen. The reason why we had to capture that was because the powers to be were told the Germans thought about coming down from Arnhem, taking Bemmel and coming round and cutting the whole British ground force off so no supplies could get up. But the situation was there was only one road and everything was on it, vehicles and us. If a vehicle broke down, it was pushed off. But our job was to protect the left flank and another division the right flank. And of course the Germans wasn't all that far away, and of course we had trouble with them. And they kindly cut us off 3 times. And of course we had to stop and sort that out, and we had to live on their rations because somebody went out and found where their food dumps were. And of course we had to live on that, but we had to sort them out, then he'd do it again. But eventually we did get up, and we was heading for drill on the Lower Rhine. We were going to cross there and go over and then through Oosterbeek and into Arnhem, because when we got there it was too late. The airborne boys were back. So with that episode over, we moved to another position of the line, you know, and eventually come back. A funny thing, we came back to Bemmel where we'd been. I don't know why, but we came back there and held the line there for 2 or 3 days. And that's getting on now, because when we was up there the winter started to set in and it was cold and that. And you dig a trench, you dig down about 2 foot, and then water starts coming in, and of course that fills up, and you've got to stand in that, haven't you? Make the best of it. Because as I said, as time goes on, we're getting round about the end of November 44 I should say, I was transferred into another regiment and division, and this time it was the Lincolnshire Regiment of the British 3rd Infantry Division. And because the 50th Division, they decided to break up because they was elderly men. I mean, they'd been Dunkirk, Italy, North Africa, Normandy, so they were getting on, and us young ones were put into something else. And I was on the River Mars when I joined the Lincolns there. And of course your winter, that was a cold winter. I found out that was the coldest winter the Dutch had had. Because you spent nights out in the snow, didn't you? Doing patrols and standing patrols, and it was so desolate. It was really not much to live for, you know, and you just had to put up with it. But as time went on, and we was lucky enough, you believe it or not, lucky enough to go out of the front line for Christmas, 44. Well, to go out for Christmas, all we was doing up in the loft of a house and washing clothes, what we could do, you know, and hope they were dry. And that was all we done as regards Christmas. But then it came the 29th, I was told I was going to go up the front line again. So I thought, well, before I go, I'll put my clean stuff on. I put it on, and of course it was still wringing wet. I thought, well, I can't go like that. Believe me, I had to put that dirty clothes back on. And it wasn't only me, it happened to other guys. And when we did get up to the front line, now this is the truth, we was up at, just outside a place called Swolgen in Holland there, and it wasn't until we did move back to somewhere else, and for 3 weeks that dirty washing and all our clothes and everything stayed on. Couldn't take nothing off because it was too cold. So you guess how we smelt.